Live from the Dexa Arcade Channel Studios in London, United Kingdom. Available on YouTube and all podcast platforms. You're listening to The Movie Penny Show with your hosts, Dexa and Hippy. You're listening to The Movie Penny Show with your hosts, Dexa and Hippy.
Hello, we are here. Welcome back to the Movie Penny Show. This is your host, Dexa. No Hippy here today. Don't worry, we're still talking, we're still friends. She'll be back in a later episode. We're just working out logistics. We're both busy with life, such as it is. Things happen. It's not easy to meet up and do stuff. Plus, we're changing our setup a little bit in order to get some better audio. Mostly because one of the latest podcasts wasn't really to my liking, but hey, we'll work it out. Anyways, today I'm going to be going solo, and I'm going to be reviewing John Wick 4. Just came out in cinemas a couple of days ago. I went there, I watched it. So, before I get into the review proper, I'm going to remind people that the first few minutes of this audio, is going to be spoiler free. So you can watch this, listen to this, go into the movie, not worrying about any of the plot points being spoiled. And then we'll jump right into the spoilers and discuss the movie in full. I'm going to be talking from memory, so there's going to be a couple of hemming and hawing and ahs, but don't mind that. This is my first solo review, so we all gotta start somewhere. And I'm starting here, and I'm starting now. Alright, so John Wick 4. What did I think about it? I didn't like it. And given the discourse online and opinions that I've asked from certain people who've also seen the movie, which range from, oh, this is the best movie I've ever seen, to, oh, it's okay. I'm probably the only one who thinks it kind of sucked, especially in comparison to John Wick 3 Parabellum. Now, John Wick 3 Parabellum was not as good as the first two. I think the first one was the best one. The second one wasn't better, but there was a trade-off, like everything was kind of bigger, but there wasn't as much care and attention put into the choreography as the first one, which was understandable. There's a bit of a trade-off. It's fine. So they're kind of equal. The third one fell off a little bit, but it was still really great. Mark Dacascos helped a lot with that, and when Donnie Yen was announced for the sequel, I was like, yeah, that's a great choice. I think he'll be great. And he's okay in the movie. I wouldn't say he's amazing. Like, there's more care and attention put into his character and introducing his character and making him a threat. But it doesn't work as well as it should. So I'm going to try and explain my opinion on this movie, why I didn't like it. So John Wick 4 is missing a lot of consistency and visceralness that the first three movies had. It's a lot of style over substance. By which I mean it's absolutely beautifully shot. Like, there's scenes in this movie that look amazing and kind of prove like how action movies should be approached in the future, type of thing. I'm not gonna spoil what they do. Well, I will spoil it later on in this video. But for now, just know that the movie shot really beautifully. There's beautiful vistas. The cities are shown off beautifully. There's loads of little details here and there. There's a lot of care and attention put into finding the right camera angles, showing off the city, showing off the sets, showing off the environments. It's all great, right? And there's so much care and attention put into like where objects are placed and all of that. That's where it ends, though. The story is bare bones and kind of nonsensical. Like, at the end of Parabellum, you kind of had this whole thing about, hey, he's been shot by Winston. He's on the run. He's made a pact to take out the table and kill everyone, right? And you think, oh, we're back to a huge revenge story. But in this one, it's not really like that. Again, not spoiling the story, but it's not what you expect it to be, and even that I'd be okay with. The problem is that it never feels like he's under threat, even though the actual threat from the people chasing him and Donnie Yen is heightened, and they're obviously more dangerous, like they stepped it up. It's sort of at such an unrealistic and ridiculous level that you can't help but feel that they just didn't put as much care and attention as they should have into it. The choreography's not as good as the first three movies. A lot of it has to do with, like, in the first three movies, there's always this thing where, like, I don't know if you guys ever noticed this. There's always this enclosed area where John's fighting maybe 3 or 4 guys at one time, right? In this movie, a lot of areas are very open. He's fighting like 9 or 10 guys at once, and a lot of them are like on the same level as him or have the same buffs as he does. And it just doesn't work out as well. It always feels like, oh, he should be killed at this point, he should be killed at this point, he should be killed at this point. And you had those moments in the previous 3 movies. You really did. But because they were like a second or two, you could kind of explain it away. And even the movie kind of like addressed it in the choreography a little bit, where it's like, yeah, he could have been shot here, but he did this thing and he saved himself. In this one, there's nothing like that. Like, they just throw all pretense away. There's guys who fall down one flight of stairs and just die, whereas the main character, it goes through much, much worse. And he's alive, like nothing happens to him. And it's really hard to explain like how ridiculous this movie gets. One of the main reasons why I absolutely despise, yes, that's such a strong word, despised some of the choreography in this film is because it's built around the Kevlar suit that was introduced in Parabellum. Now, this is the thing. I had to go back and watch Parabellum in order to understand if I was actually fooling myself into thinking that the third movie was better than the fourth movie. It was. And here's the thing. The Kevlar suit was actually introduced in Parabellum. When Halle Berry's character, Sophia, I think her name is, she shot him, and the bullets essentially bounced off his suit. However, the force of the bullet caused him to fall down on the ground. That does not happen in this movie. The bullets, they ricochet off his suit. They show this. Like he's literally putting up his suit in order as a shield in order to ricochet bullets off it. Like that's not the rule that was established in Parabellum. And it annoyed me so much because it's like, dude, I can accept that your suit protects you from bullets, but like even when he gets shot, like they've shown like he gets bruises on his body because of how hard the bullets hit him. But in this one, nothing, dude. He's completely fine. Like he doesn't even get wounded for most of the movie. It's absolutely ridiculous. So no spoilers on the story either. Let's just go over some of the characters. So Keanu Reeves in this movie, he literally has nothing to do. There's a lot of scenes where he does not have more than about 5 words of dialogue. I mean, literally, there's several scenes in this, like he does talk in several scenes in this movie, but he literally has about maximum 5-6 words of dialogue, which is weird. Like, I don't know why, because everyone else has a lot of dialogue. Like Lawrence Fishburne has some awesome dialogue, and what's his name? The guy who plays Winston, Ian McShane, has loads of awesome dialogue. However, Keanu Reeves, like, he barely has like 5 or 6 words until the end, where he does like 2 or 3 lines of dialogue, but that's about it. Like, he barely talks in this movie. It is weird. Of course, everybody knows Lawrence Fishburne, Ian McShane. They're awesome. Donnie Yen, he is essentially playing the same character he played in Rogue One. You might consider that a spoiler. I don't. The character's basically the same, and that's fine. I felt like it could have been more. I mean, I will say is that there are some clever scenes where they show off how he kills enemies and how he navigates environments, and the guy uses a sword. So yeah, okay, fine. That's a bit of a spoiler, but he uses a sword, and they show you how he uses a sword and how he uses guns and how his gunplay is different from Vic. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's fine. Marco Zaror plays a character named Shidi, who is ostensibly the main villain of this movie. He's the requisite high table guy representative in this movie. He's okay. And the thing is, his performance reminds me a lot of the guy who played Blackheart in Ghost Rider, except slightly better, which isn't the best comparison. But I'm wondering if it's just because he's playing someone who's French, or he is French. I'm not sure. One of the two. But maybe his accent is throwing me off. But it's like, and he is threatening, and I would say he's good in the role, but it never feels menacing. Like there is one scene which kind of establishes like how depraved he is, kind of, and how his morality is different from other people, and the scene just feels off, like it belongs to another character, but they transplanted it here because we got to make him interesting. So there's a hitman in this movie played by Shamir Anderson. He plays someone named Mr. Nobody. He's a great addition to the film, but again, the addition's kind of superfluous. Like, he's in there and he does some really awesome stuff, but it never feels like they know what to do with him, and they just kind of insert him into scenes and he does cool stuff, and then like that's it. And the thing is, and it's just this weird thing where it's like, he's more susceptible to harm than John Wick is, which is hard to explain, but when you see the movie you'll understand how much it bothered me that this guy is defending himself from bullet fire, and he's doing it in an effective way, and they actually thought about, how's this guy gonna defend himself? But Keanu just puts his suit up and apparently bullets bounce off it. It's not, I don't like it. Rounding off the cast, there is one more aspect to this movie that I really didn't like. I think the character that I didn't like the role, was played by someone named Melina Randall. I'm not sure, because you don't actually see this person's face in the movie, you only hear her voice. You'll know the scene when you say it feels really out of reality. Like in the previous movies, there's always this thing where like everything's based in kind of reality. You can believe that these hitmen are living in this world. They're operating in secrecy. People don't know who they are. They're blending in. In this one, all that pretense is dropped. There's fights, there's gunfights going on in public. There's car chases happening here and there. And the thing is, you're like, okay, fine, yeah, that would happen. The problem is the public never reacts to it. It's like everything that's happening in front of them is invisible. Like cars just go on their merry way. People just do whatever they were doing. It never affects them. And I'm just like, dude, you'd hear gunshots, you'd be like, oh crap, I gotta get out of here. Here they're just, I gotta do my shopping or whatever. Nobody cares. It's weird. And I'm not talking about how in the previous movie where like, he'd slip into an alley, like he'd be in a really, really crowded marketplace and he'd slip into an alleyway and like there'd be gunshots going on. No, not like that. Here, they're in crowded places, like in the middle of the street fighting, and like this isn't a scene in the movie, but it's basically the same thing. In a crowded street fighting, surrounded by people who are just doing their own thing, like, eating at a restaurant. And, guy takes out a gun, starts shooting the other guy, or, runs him over with a car. And, everybody's just like, "Oh, dude, I'm enjoying my coffee. I don't give a shit about this guy dying over there." What? I did not like this movie. I really didn't like this movie. Um, if you can really turn your brain off, if you can accept that, John Wick is essentially a superhero now. He's essentially a comic book character now. He's not a real person. He's not like an 80s action hero where, like, he gets shot and he gets hit, but because because he's a hero, because you want him to live, he can power through it. Yes, he might die from that, but he might, normal person will definitely die from that, but John Wick just gets really, really hurt. Like, he gets extremely hurt. He gets he gets he's not able to move from this thing, but you know what, the guy survives. Like at the end of Parabellum, that thing that happens, at the end where Vincent shoots him and he falls off the roof, and he's near death where he can't even move, where someone has to drag him into the sewers and save him. Yeah, okay, fine. There's a bit of extending your sense of disbelief. There's a bit of like what's the term, like like giving up your sense of disbelief, right? You're like, okay, it's a movie, there's gonna be a sequel, okay, fine, we'll let this one go. You can't do that. Here it happens over and over and over. And where in the previous movie he got hurt and you saw him get hurt and you saw him wounded, in this one he doesn't at all. You don't even see him hurt until, well, no spoilers, but it really, really, really bothered me. And it just kind of told me that they wanted to make an action movie, and they wanted these set pieces, and they wanted these, they thought about, okay, how can we up the ante with the villains? How can we make them better? How can we do this and that? But at the end, they couldn't really figure out how to make it as believable as the first three. They were like, God, these guys are too strong. He's gonna die. And they went, F it. Just do it. Nobody cares. People are gonna watch it anyways. It honestly feels like that. And that absolutely bothered me. Okay, so John Wick 4, score out of 10. John Wick 1 was a 9 out of 10. John Wick 2 was a 9 out of 10. Parabellum, I'd say 7.5, 8 out of 10. There's some things that bothered me about it, but it's still a great movie, right? 7.5 to 8. Like 8 on a good day, 7.5 on a bad day, okay? This one, whoa, I'd go a 5, and I'd struggle to give it a higher score. It's just not that great. Yeah, and that's my review of John Wick 4. Honestly, if you're the type of person who can watch movies and not think too deeply about them, if you're just there in the cinema to have a good time, you will enjoy this movie. It won't bother you too much. But for me, I laughed at one of the scenes where John was getting hurt. I laughed out loud in the cinema. And that shouldn't happen. But yeah, I'm gonna wait a few seconds and then jump right into the spoiler review. Okay? So look forward to that. So we're gonna jump into the spoiler review in 5 seconds. You've been warned. Alright, you've gotten your review. So go away if you don't want any spoilers. We're gonna jump in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright. So spoiler review now for John Wick 4. So I'm gonna talk about this movie from memory. I don't really have my notes in front of me, but I'll do my best to detail some of the scenes in this movie and the problems I have with them. So we start off the movie in the desert, and John's on a horse, and he's chasing 3 other people on horses, and he shoots them, and he meets the same head of the table that he met in the... Well, actually, there's a scene before that where, Lawrence Fishburne's character, the king, what's he called? The Bowery King, yeah. He comes to John, and he brings him a suit, and he asks him if he's ready, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm ready." And there's a scene right after Daredevil where, he lights up a match, throws it on the floor, and apparently there's this pattern on the floor that catches on fire. Which, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's cool. So, again, suspension of disbelief. That's the one. Suspension of disbelief, Okay, fine, whatever, action movie. And then John's in the desert, he's chasing 3 guys on horses, he shoots them, he meets the guy that, the Arabian guy that was head of the hive table in the last movie. He asks for his ring back, he has a really, really short conversation with him. Like, literally, they're exchanging words, and Keanu Reeves says, 1 or 2 words. Like all he really says, even in the scene, is, "Oh, have you come for repentance, John?" or something. And the guy has a lot of dialogue, and he goes, "Yeah," and he's asking him "What did you want?" "My ring." "Oh, your ring's been given away." Blah 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 blah. He's like, "Oh, do you really think you can get away with this?" "I intend to," or something. He barely says anything. There's barely any interaction. There's barely any character. The guy's just kind of... It feels like he's going through the motions, which in the revenge flick is... It's a choice. It's not a good choice, but it's a choice. But he always kind of grits his teeth every time he talks. So it's like... kind of like Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura when he does the mouth movements, or in Liar Liar, just rah, 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 he just kind of does that mouth movement every time he talks, and he's trying to be gruff and speaking that gruff voice where it's it never sounds normal, it always sounds forced, and there's always 1 or 2 words that he's speaking. So maybe the guy's tired of the series as well. Yeah, so then we jump to the Continental, and we meet our main villain of the movie, the Marquis. The Marquis is this French guy who's been appointed by the table to take out John Wick. He's essentially a noble that's been given this task to take out John, and they've told him, do whatever you need to do to kill him, because we want him dead. He needs to be gone. And he comes to the Continental. He kills Sharon, Lance Reddick's character. So yeah, poor Lance Reddick, I'm gonna miss him. It kind of hurts seeing him die in the movie. Like I know that they probably intended for him to die. It wasn't a reaction to him actually dying. They just kind of always intended him to die. But I don't know, it was really, really emotional. It really, really bothered me. And the thing was, it was the guy kills Sharon, Lance Reddick's character, because he wants to punish Winston for going against the table, and he wants to leave him alive, as a kind of warning to other people that, if you go against the table, will not only take away your life, but will take away everything you love. So they blow up the hotel, they kill his concierge, and he's left with nothing, right? And he goes to the Bowery King to meet up with John because, he wants revenge. John's in Japan, I think, and he meets up with one of his old friends, played by Hiroyuki Sanada, whose daughter is Amy Kwan in the movie. So he plays a character named Shimazu, and she plays a character named Mia. So they're essentially in another, hotel running concierge thing, where he's the father, she's the daughter, she runs the front desk, he runs the hotel, that sort of thing. And Donnie Yen is an ex-hitman who's roped into chasing John because the villain, God, I'm never going to remember his name. Shidi, something. Like, they just call him the Maquis throughout the movie, so I'll just call him the Maquis. So the Maquis threatens his daughter and says, oh, you left the life in order to protect your daughter, but, you still belong to us, and if you don't do what we say, then we'll kill your daughter. Okay? So they establish that, why Donnie Yen's character Kane has to chase after John Wick, and he has this private army of bodyguards, headed by this 7-foot giant with a goatee who wears the same Kevlar bodysuit that John does. So he not only wears the 7-foot Kevlar suit, he's 7 foot, and he wears a Kevlar suit like John does, but he also has a group of guys who wear the same kind of suits, so they're all like, it's like an army of John Wicks, like, I don't know, like 7-8 people. And he also has an army of guys in full body armor, wearing bullet resistant masks as well. And that's the thing. It's like, this is the number of people that he's fighting. He goes to Japan and he meets the guy. He meets his friend Shimazu at the hotel, and his daughter Mia doesn't really know their relationship, but Shimazu tells John, yes, these guys have come for you, but I'll protect you because we're friends and we have a history. And Donnie Yen's the one who's been friends with John for a long time as well, so he knows places that he can go and hide. So he knows John's going to escape to this hotel and he's going to look for help. So the army of suit guys and, the guys in tactical bulletproof gear come to the hotel, and the entire hotel goes against him. Same thing that happened in Parabellum. You have loads of guys fighting with swords and bows, and, you have these guys that are fighting with guns, and John's fighting with a gun, and he's taking out these guys one by one. And there's some cool things in there, like, he uses a pair of nunchucks against the suited guys, and he uses a knife or a sword to cut the necks of these guys wearing the full body armor, because the bullets can't really hurt them like he shoots the bullets in their faces and it just bounces off. So when it bounces off, they don't really get hurt, but you can see them like being flung back by the force of the bullets. But this is the thing, like when they shoot at him, it bounces off his suit, and it's this thing where like whenever an arrow is shot at the guys in the suits, like the arrow sticks in their arms, but it doesn't get hurt. They get shot, but they just put their arm up and they're fine. Like, they don't get hurt at all. They seem invincible. There's literally an area which is very similar to like the whole area with like the glass barriers at the end of Parabellum, where he fights Mark Dacascos. And he's fighting a bunch of these guys, and they're shooting at him with shotguns, but the shotguns are being caught by the glass because it's bulletproof. But when John shoots through it, it's not bulletproof anymore. Apparently, the shots hit them. It's just, yeah, it's a thing where it's like a little more consistency, a little more believability. Like, give me something to hang on to. Okay, took a bit of a break, came back for round 2. I was a little salty in that first part. Took a bit of water. Now I'm back. Alright, we're going to talk about Donnie Yen. So Donnie Yen in this film, I like him in parts. There's stuff about him that's really clever, and Donnie Yen is, of course, one of the greatest action stars of our generation. There's Jackie Chan, there's, Asian stars. Like, you obviously have Schwarzenegger and Stallone and etc. Like, you have Scott Adkins, who's in this movie. Like, he's a great action star as well. Check out the Boyka movies, Undisputed. It's really awesome in those. But yeah, he's Donnie Yen is one of the greatest modern action stars ever. Like, you got Jet Li, you got Michelle Yeoh, you got Jackie Chan, you got Tony Jaa, and you got Donnie Yen. Bruce Lee, obviously, yeah, and Brandon Lee, but it's been a while, so anyways, Donnie Yen in this movie. Mentioned before that he's basically playing the same character he played in Rogue One. The witty, sarcastic guy who's kind of a Buddhist, kind of not, kind of given up on life, kind of not. Blind swordsman, that guy. Carries his staff around, kicks ass. Except he also fires guns in this one. And the scenes, at least the initial scene where they introduce his abilities, is actually very clever. So what he actually does is he runs into the kitchen. He has 4 guys behind him. And he puts motion sensors at different points of the kitchen. And when each of the guys passes by one of the motion sensors, it goes off, makes a sound, and he shoots in the direction of the sound, and that's how he takes these guys out. And whenever he thinks one of them is close by, he kind of, moves his sword around. And there's even a scene later on where he's fighting with John in the same, mirrored hallways thingy, where John's shooting at him with a gun and he's shooting at John with like a assault rifle, and John runs out of ammo, and he's still got ammo, but they exchange fire, and when John goes through one of the barriers, he's down on the ground and he's surrounded by glass, and he stays still and he breathes really silently. And the guy's obviously blind, so he can't tell, so he can't hear him. So he goes, "John, are you dead?" And the second John goes for a gun that's near him in order to arm himself again, he hears the glass moving and he starts shooting at him again. It's very clever. It's it's little things like that that are very clever and very well planned out, and that's the stuff that I like. But it's very few and far between. I'm not going to harp on about the plot too much. Essentially, Donnie Yen kills the owner of the hotel. He leaves the daughter alive, so because he's like, you can take retribution on me later, sort of thing. Winston comes back into the picture. He suggests to John that he can have a duel with the Marquis, and in exchange for winning the duel, Winston can get his hotel back and have his revenge, and John can be freed from the table. Now, here's my problem with this plot point. The whole thing about Parabellum was he was angry at the table. He was angry because they were using them like pawns and moving them about, and they wouldn't let him just be. Like, that was his whole thing. Where, like, he saw injustice, he took care of it, and once he took care of it, they would just chase him and they wouldn't let him go, and they'd kill everything he cared about with 1,000 cuts. And even in the beginning, like, when he killed the Arabian guy, like, he's the one he gave his ring to, and he didn't even have his ring, and he shot him. And it's just this thing where, like, after all that, after running around and trying to take them out and having this whole thing about, I need vengeance, like, it's just done. Like, even the Bowery King, like, he's okay with it. Like, they took his kingdom from him. They cut him up. They brought him down low into the sewers. And he's just okay with it. He's fine. Like, Winston, I mean, it honestly feels like, okay, how should I say this? You know how in the Matrix Revolutions you had this grand design, and then at the end it just felt like it just went poof. Like, you felt like there was this whole grand stage where, you'd have man versus machine, and they'd be able to fight each other, and you had someone on your side who was powerful, who could actually stand up to them. And then at the end, it just kind of went, well, let's compromise. And in this part, it feels like the same. We're like, we can't really do a balls to the walls thing. He can't really, go underground and, find each head of the table, take the organization apart bit by bit. But, let's compromise. Let's just give them a bit of a bloody nose. And given the spirit of the first movies, it feels cheap and unearned. Like, you can call me bloodthirsty, but, like, it's an action movie. Like, you want to see the good guy win. And you want to see him win while he struggles. And in this one, he doesn't really struggle. he kind of just gets away with everything. All right, so moving on. There's a thing where, moving on the plot, he goes to Belarus or Belgium, one of the two places, and he finds his Russian family. You know, the one that was shown in Parabellum, the ones who he gave the ticket to. And he wants to get back in the family, and he wants to talk to his uncle Porter, and he finds out his uncle Porter was killed, and he was killed by the character that Scott Adkins plays, who's Scott Adkins in this movie is in a fat suit, and he's got 4 gold front teeth, and he's this really, really slimy character. Honestly, if I had to compare him to someone, he's probably really close to the character Tom Cruise plays in Tropic Thunder. And it's played really well. And you know, I mean, I'm not gonna criticize his performance too much, because his performance is good. The problem is when it comes down to the action scene again, where, you know, he has to kill him. Like, these characters have too much plot armor. Like, there's literally a scene where Keanu shoots at him and he doesn't hit him. He only hits him in the ass. He throws a knife at him and it doesn't hit him. It only hits him in the ass. And it just becomes an excuse to fight him later on. And he fights him, and there's this like Daredevil Kingpin-esque scene where he's fighting him. And he throws him off a second floor of a building in a dance club, and he falls to the floor and he's fine. Even though earlier there's literally a scene which shows him throwing a henchman down a flight of stairs, and the henchman dies from that. And the thing that really, really bothered me about this scene, and this happens later on as well, there are hordes of people dancing in this club, and they can clearly see there's these guys fighting with swords and guns and firing bullets everywhere, and they're killing each other. There's dead bodies all over the place, and nobody notices. They're just dancing. Nobody's afraid. They're just dancing. Nobody gives a crap. You know, it's like they're all just drugged up or something, or in a haze, or, you know, it's all illusion. And it just really bothered me, because, like, you'd expect, like, they would run. You know, there's that scene in the first movie where he breaks into that club to go after the son of that guy, and, you know, people started running when bullets started flying, you know, because that's a normal reaction you expect. And this one, they're just dancing. They don't care. Nobody moves. It becomes this thing of, like, you know, well, we need to keep the style of the scene, so we can't lose the people that are there. So let's just keep them there while we shoot everyone. And then at the end of the scene where the guy dies and the henchmen die and Keanu leaves the club, that's when they decide to throw the dancers out. So that he's literally walking through a crowd of people who are being evacuated. And it feels weird. It's inconsistent, and it's those inconsistencies that just build up as the movie goes along. So according to the plot, he gets back into his family by getting revenge on this guy, and that allows him to push a duel with the Maquis, who's apparently really, really freaking stupid. Like, his idea is basically, okay, I'll set a time for the duel, you know, and I'll just have Donnie Yen do the deal for me. I'll just have Kane do the deal for me. And since the duel's happening in the morning, I'll send everyone in the city after him. Like, he's in Paris, so I'll just send everyone in Paris after him. And that makes sense. Like, this is supposed to be a duel to actually take out the high table and gain your freedom, and apparently it's just okay that everyone's trying to kill you until you get to that point. Okay, I guess. Now, even if I accept that, what happens afterwards is absolutely ridiculous. Like, he's running to the city, and you have all these guys running after him. And if you remember in Parabellum, one of the things that I liked about one of the things that, if you remember the scene in Parabellum, one of the things that I liked about the movie was that there was this kind of teletyping thing where, like, this woman types in his location and it immediately updates this network of cell phones everywhere. You know, they get an immediate message with his location, so they rush over there. It's covert. In this one, you have a literal DJ. You have a literal DJ screaming out his location on open radio for everyone to hear. You're telling me the entire city of Paris is aware of these hitmen living in their midst who can kill anybody at a moment's notice, and they're fine with it. There's a radio station that exists with a woman who screams out the location of someone. Like if I was listening to that radio station and she came on and said, "Oh, you know, he's at this arch thing over here," I'd be like, "I'm running from here, man. I do not want to get shot." But it's fine. Everybody's just going about their lives. This is not a secret radio station. Okay? This is not on the internet. You have people listening on ham radios in public. And, you know, people are like, "You're nitpicking." I'm allowed to nitpick. It bothers me. Like, stupidity is not an excuse to, like... You know, it's fine to have an action movie which is stupid, but when you establish that this movie series is smart, that the people in it, the people directing it, the people making it, know what they're doing, they're clever, they're thinking about how to do things, they're thinking about how to approach things, they're thinking about how this character is going to interact with these people chasing him, how he's going to kill them, how he uses his martial arts, how he uses his gunplay, how, like, the knife fight, dude, that was awesome in Parabellum. Oh my god, that was amazing. I love that knife fight in the beginning where he's surrounded by glass cases full of knives, and, like, he's throwing the knives and they bounce off of people because it doesn't hit them. Like, that's awesome. And it makes sense. That's all I want. Like, I can suspend my disbelief and go, yeah, it's a little bit out there, but it makes sense. I'm okay with it. I don't mind. But in this one, it's too much. It's too much. So in this scene where he's running through Paris, not only is he hit by a car, this is a repeated thing. He's hit by a car like 7-8 times over and over and over. Like, over and over and over. He gets into a car and even that car flips over. He survives that. Okay, I can accept that. Then he gets out of the car and he gets hit by a car. And he's chased by one of these Kevlar suit wearing goons, and he's fighting him, and it just gets boring after a while. It's just too much. It's just over and over and over, and you're like, I'm seeing the same thing over and over and over. There's literally a scene where there's a group of assassins that come out of a van. He's in a car which has no doors, and he circles them. He does donuts around the van 6 times in order to shoot them. It feels like a stage in a video game. You're telling me there's no other hitman on that road over there that can come in from the side and shoot at him? You're telling me he's just fine going in a circle over and over? That is prime location for getting shot, okay? And it bothers me. And then he goes into this house, and it's just like, there's a couple of scenes in the house that are cool. I like them. Like, there's a scene which kind of recreates Hotline Miami, you know, the top-down thing. And it's also where they introduce the whole thing of, you know, Dragonfire shotgun shells, which look cool. Essentially, it's a thing where, like, if you shoot the Dragonfire, it literally sets people on fire, aside from throwing shells into them. And that's cool. The problem is, he again has plot armor where you literally have people shooting at him. Like, there'll be this barrier in the way. They'll shoot at him through the barrier. It won't hit him, but the second he fires a dragonfly, it hits the other guy. It's stupid. And then we get 2 examples of egregiousness where he's thrown out of a 3-story house. He falls onto a van, bends it, and then bounces off it, and then falls to the floor, gets up, and he's fine. This happened at the end of Parabellum, and he was unable to move. He was out of the picture. He had to be carried to the sewer. In this one, he's fine. Completely fine. Okay, on the side, you have Mr. Nobody. Look, I like the actor. He did really well in this movie. I like his dog. I thought it was cool. I liked his shotgun. I really liked the vest that, you know, he carries a backpack, which, you know, folds into a vest on his front. And that's all really cool. I really like that. It's essentially Sophia from the last movie repeated again. That's exactly what it is. It's the exact same character repeated again. And there is a cool scene with him where, you know, the guy in the Kevlar suit is essentially being bitten by the dog on his arm, and he's not being hurt. And Kiana essentially is at a standoff with Mr. Nobody, where he has his gun trained on him, and he has his gun trained on him as well. And he's gonna shoot him, but instead he shoots the guy in the Kevlar suit. Oh, again, this is the thing. He shoots the guy in the Kevlar suit. I think it hits him in the head. I'm not sure. But it causes him to fall over a railing 2 floors below, fall flat on his face on the ground, and he's fine in the scene after that. He's completely fine in the scene after that. I was so confused. I was like, isn't that the same guy? And I'm pretty sure it was. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. You fall 2 floors, essentially to your deaths, and then you're fine. Anyways, I did like that scene, aside from the ridiculousness of a guy falling off 2 floors onto the ground and surviving. You know, like the Undertaker or something. Like, you know, I did like that scene because, you know, he chose to save the dog. Even though he could have gotten shot, he chose to save the dog, which is consistent with his character and made sense. So I like that scene. It's still stupid that he got thrown out the window onto a van and survived, but yeah, we're going to take the stupidity in stride. So the next bit is where he has to go up these 6 flight of stairs, and there's a lot of stairs. There's like 220 steps, I think they say. He gets to the top, like he fights a bunch of hitmen, gets to the top, bunch of Kevlar suit guys come in, and they throw him down the stairs, and there's this extended scene of him falling down each flight of stairs one by one. Like, it lasts for about 2 minutes. I laughed so hard at that scene. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And then he meets up with Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen comes into the picture and he's like, oh, I'll help you get to the top because, I'm a fair man or something. And he helps him fight off these guys. So, another thing that I forgot to talk about, again, I had so many problems with this movie. This movie, I honestly feel like they were trying to make it PG-13. I honestly feel that way. There is so much less blood spatter in this movie. It's weird, especially when you have like Keanu using a sword to behead to attack weapons in the neck, and you have Donnie Yen using a sword to fight people. The blood spatter in this movie is so much less vicious than previous ones. It feels CGI, and in some scenes it's not even there, even though people are getting stabbed and shot. It just seems missing. And then in some scenes it's fine, like when you're looking for it, it's fine. And then in some scenes where you're like, that's weird, like where's the blood spatter? And then it's just so understated, or if it's not even there. And it just makes me feel like they were trying to go for a PG-13 rating in the middle, and then they just kind of gave up. I don't know. It just really bothered me. Anyways, he beats up the Kevlar suit guys. It's a boring scene. Donnie Yen apparently never gets blood spatter on his clothes, even though he uses a sword, even though he stabs loads of people throughout the movie. He never gets blood spatter on his clothes. Except at the end. And the reason why I noticed this is because he drew attention to it. He got like a few drops of blood on his shirt because he made a mistake when stabbing someone at the end. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. Like, you stab someone that close, you're always going to get blood spatter. You're not going to escape from that. That's not how it works. You can't explain it away with that scene. Okay? Like, slight bit of realism. Anyways, yeah, so, ending of the film, Donnie and Keanu Reeves get to the top. They have the duel. They both shoot each other during the duel. Keanu... They shoot at each other twice, and then on the third shot, Keanu takes the shot from Donnie Yen, and the Marquis decides, I'll finish him off myself, because I want to take all the glory and whatever. And at that point, Vincent said, "You idiot, he never shot." And Keanu shoots him in the head, and he's won the duel, he's won his freedom. And then he goes and sits on the steps, and he's tired, and he dies. That is literally what happens. I'm fine with the guy dying, mostly because I don't think there should be a John Wick 5 after this one. But again, the whole thing just feels a lot like Matrix Revolutions, where even in Matrix Revolutions, like, they kind of argued for that ending, and in a way it made sense, but in this one it wasn't earned. Like, you can have this amazing story of revenge where John destroys himself in order to get some semblance of revenge against the High Table. Instead, he just kind of, I don't know. It just goes flat. I mean, he gave them a bit of a bloody nose. They're still doing what they're doing. Hasn't really changed anything. I I just really found it unsatisfying. And the thing is, if the movie was better, I could have forgiven the ending. But the movie was just so underwhelming for me. And I've heard from a lot of people who have actually said that it's a great movie, it's a great time. A lot of people have argued with me that, I'm being too sensitive about it, that, it's an action movie, I'm just looking at it the wrong way. I don't think I am. I don't think I am, really. Apparently, a lot of people like the movie, like even looking at it, they give me a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, etc., etc. I'm not one of those people. It's barely an average movie. Barely. I feel like it's descending into bad B movie territory. I I really hope they don't make a John Wick 5. But yeah, I know I rushed through the plot a bit. I am recording the second part a day after the first part, mostly because I had some things going on in my life and I couldn't really finish it. But I hope you enjoyed this review. I will be doing more solo reviews in the future. I'll be more doing reviews on the latest films, and then we'll bring in Hippy back in, and she and I will be doing reviews on more classic films, more older films, more stuff that we really enjoyed watching, or stuff that we want to torture each other with. And we have some things planned. We have stuff planned. So yeah, hopefully I'll be doing a lot more of these in the future. So come back soon. Thank you very much for listening. Take care, and see you soon. Adios.